Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is December the 20th, 2023. Hope this episode finds you well in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good, doing pretty well, feeling all right. Let's see here. Overall, work was good. I will say I'm like hitting that wall in a way where I'm just like I'm so ready for Christmas break or whatever the fuck you want to call it, just the holiday to kick in fully, and I can just be off of work. I'm ready for that because it's just, I'm bored or whatever. I'm just on my phone at some points. I'm just talking and yapping away. I'm just like, I'm sick of seeing all this cardboard, I'm just over it. But things were good. We had our Christmas dinner or Christmas lunch thing, whatever you want to call it. And I did my food scam. So I got 2 times. I got 2 meals. That was nice. They fed me for the whole day. And let me give you a little quick breakdown of what we had. There was a salad with ranch or some kind of like balsamic. I got one of each on that one. Then there were rolls. There was this white cheddar mac and cheese. That was probably the best part. That was probably the best thing. Like as I was walking into the break room, someone pulled me aside. They're like, "Hey, the mac and cheese, that's what you get." And I was like, "Good look. Thank you, thank you." And sure enough, they were correct. Also, there was like this vegetable medley thing. That was kind of gross. But, it was something that you could pick at. There was like some carrots, some okra. Maybe there was like a cucumber zucchini situation in there. Cauliflower. Like I said, a medley. It was a little bland, but whatever. Take it or leave it. There was mashed potatoes with no gravy. That bummed me out. I was talking about that to some coworkers, and they're like, "Oh, well, they said that they put cheese in the mashed potatoes," and I'm like, "I mean, that's cool, but that doesn't that doesn't absolve you for not giving us gravy. I don't understand. That's weird." But not gonna complain. It was fine. It was edible. We'll take those. And then the meats. They had a chicken marsala, which I'm realizing that I gotta go to a restaurant and sit down and actually have chicken marsala or have a friend get it or something because I don't know what it is. Like I've eaten it at least 2 or 3 times and I'm not 100% sure what it is. And this situation was like just the piece of chicken and it tasted pretty good. It was fine. That was good. And then there was brisket. Overall really yummy. I will say it was weird, right? Like maybe it's just because like I was having it the first time I enjoyed it more, but the second time around I was like the brisket is mid. But I don't know, it is what it is. Yeah, overall it was fine. It was good on that. Then there was a dessert tray. My first round I got a coffee cheesecake, which I gotta say, very good. Yummy yummy. There was a like a raspberry like swirl one that had like a brownie bottom kind of thing or like a chocolate crust kind of situation that I have gotten before. That probably was the one to get, but the coffee cheesecake was really good. The second time around, it was an L. I got a M&M and chocolate chip cookie, and I don't know if you've ever had the situation where you get a bakery item that sometimes winds up tasting like some other bakery item, and in this situation the cookie tasted like the chocolate tasted like mint chocolate, and that is not my thing. That's like a mint chocolate is just not it for me. There's like very rare corner case scenarios where you can give me mint chocolate and I want it. This is not one of them. So overall, it was fine. Like I said, it was so mid I ate it twice, so I'm not gonna complain, right? And yeah, overall the day was good. I think I'm just ready for, like I said, the weekend. I'm ready for the Christmas weekend. Hell yeah. Which is weird because I mean, I came from a retail background, and I really just loathed Christmas for a really long time. Really not into it. But definitely, I can see now, like, since I've gotten out of that sphere, it's been, like, 7 years now. Crazy. I really feel like I've resorted back to, like, my normal, like, prepubescent self in that way, where I'm like, no, Christmas is fun. Christmas is cool. Let the Mariah Carey play. It's all good. But I'm also still, like whatever about it. Like, if I didn't have anything to do, I'd probably just be like, all right, it's just a day. But I'm really appreciative that I do have family friends that, invite me out to stuff, and, they take care of me. It's really sweet. So, I'm already getting a little sappy just thinking about that. So yeah, let me go ahead and do my startup, and then we'll get into some news. We'll cover some hard hitting action. Yeah, you know that. You know me, covering all the action news. But yeah, we'll do my startup, and then we'll get into it. Whew. All right. From the Associated Press. Excuse me. U.S. Venezuela swap prisoners. Maduro ally for 10 Americans plus fugitive contractor Fat Leonard. Man, I'm so stoked to get a chance to mention Fat Leonard. But we'll get to it. The United States freed a close ally of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in exchange for the release of 10 Americans imprisoned in the South American country and the return of a fugitive defense contractor known as Fat Leonard, who is at the center of a massive Pentagon bribery scandal, the Biden administration announced on Wednesday. The deal represents the Biden administration's boldest move yet to improve relations with the major oil-producing nation and extract concessions from the self-proclaimed socialist leader. The largest release of American prisoners in Venezuela's history comes weeks after the White House agreed to suspend some sanctions following a commitment by Maduro to work towards free and fair conditions for the 2024 presidential election. Even though a lot of people are like, that seems really sus, especially, with the recent news that we've covered, with them trying to take over, another territory, I believe, Guyana. So yeah, that's still an ongoing thing. These things are unrelated. But Maduro celebrated the return of Alex Saab as a triumph for truth over a U.S.-led campaign of lies, threats, and torture against someone his government considers a Venezuelan diplomat who was illegally arrested on a U.S. warrant. I think my favorite description of Alex Saab, just in like a one sentence, is essentially he was like Maduro's bagman. And in this situation, they're like, well, we can just hit Maduro and we can just get this guy, and that'll work for us. That'll give us points. That'll say we're doing something, and next thing you know, this guy got done up. But yeah, I mean, now roles are kind of reversed now, and he's getting released, and now he's back home. Let me see. Let me read a little bit more here. President Biden, a defiant Maduro, said with Saab at his side for a hero's welcome at the presidential palace, Venezuela stands strong, following its own model. We won't be anyone's colony. Let me see here. What else do we want to read? The 10 Americans released include 6 who have been designated by the U.S. government as wrongfully detained. And then there's more on our guy, Fat Leonard. The agreement has also resulted in the return to U.S. custody of Leonard Glenn Francis, the Malaysian owner of a ship servicing company who is the central character in one of the largest bribery scandals in Pentagon history. Now, I randomly just stumbled on this guy last year, just, doing my whole podcast thing. And there was just this whole thing about this guy and just all the seedy backwoods deals that he made, all the influence he had, and like it was told by his story. And it was really impactful to me because, I've said this before, how I don't like limited series. They can kind of usually end on a cliffhanger. But in this situation, Leonard was in custody. So it's like clearly, yeah, the cliffhanger is that the trial is still an ongoing thing. And we don't know what the end result of that is yet, like what the end result is. But it did wind up becoming a cliffhanger because I think by the time I had either finished it or I can't remember because it's a bit fuzzy. You know how my brain works. He was gone. He was in the wind. He winds up cutting his ankle bracelet and he just runs. But he winds up getting arrested I think in Venezuela on his way out or something like that. And he's been in custody since. And now he is going to be going back to America to face justice. So that is interesting. I like that this kind of worlds collided here, and I kind of got to cover two things at once. So that's kind of nice. That's neat. Let's see here. There's that burp. Excuse me. In October, the White House erased sanctions on Venezuela's oil industry following promises by Maduro that he would level the playing field for the 2024 election, when he's looking to add 6 years to his decade-long crisis-ridden rule. A November 30th deadline has passed, and so far Maduro has failed to reverse a ban, blocking his chief opponent, Maria Corina Machado, from running for office. So naturally, the Biden administration is getting a little blasted for this. This is something else I wanted to pull from here that I don't feel like I even have covered on the pod. The U.S. has conducted several swaps with Venezuela over the past few years, including one in October of 2022 for 7 Americans, including 5 oil executives at a Houston-based Citgo, in exchange for the release of 2 nephews of Maduro's wife jailed in the U.S. on narcotics charges. Like the exchange earlier, Wednesday's swap took place on a tarmac in the Caribbean island nation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So yeah, let me go ahead and fast forward a little bit more here. What else did I want to pull? There's more on Fat Leonard here. Nicknamed Fat Leonard for his bulging 6'3" frame, Francis was arrested in a San Diego hotel nearly a decade ago as part of a federal sting operation. Investigators say he bilked the U.S. military out of more than $35 million by buying off dozens of top-ranking Navy officers with booze, sex, lavish parties, and other gifts. 3 weeks before he faced sentencing in September of 2022, Francis made an escape as stunning and brazen as the case itself, as he snipped off his ankle monitor and disappeared. He was arrested by Venezuelan police, attempted to board a flight from Caracas, and has been in custody since. So, there you go. Caught up on both fronts there. Let's move on to America. Right after I was done recording, I saw this notification pop up about Donald Trump. Normally, that's kind of like snoozer news. I wasn't really like expecting much. But it turns out Colorado made a little bit of a big move here. So let's go ahead and talk about it. From the Associated Press, Donald Trump banned from Colorado ballot an historic ruling by state Supreme Court. So, yeah, this winds up being a bit big. In some ways, it's kind of like small, and in other ways, symbolically big. Like, symbolically, maybe this is as close as you're going to get to Donald Trump, like, spontaneously combusting. You know what I mean? Like, because there's no way he's going to go to jail or anything like that. Like, there's just too much lag time in between the trials even starting and going through. Like, in Trump's best case scenario, he's going to win and then come through and then just like pardon himself or like drop all the cases, and it's over. That's it. That's all that's going to happen there. Now, if he doesn't win, then yeah, he's going to have to, go through all these trials, and, we'll see, what happens there. But let's go ahead and get into the article. A divided Colorado Supreme Court on Tuesday declared former President Donald Trump ineligible for the White House under the U.S. Constitution's Insurrection Clause and removed him from the state's presidential primary ballot, setting up a likely showdown in the nation's highest court to decide whether the frontrunner for the GOP nomination can remain in the race. The decision from a court whose justices were all appointed by Democratic governors marks the first time in history that Section 3 of the 14th Amendment has been used to disqualify a presidential candidate. Essentially, this is like a Civil War law that came into pass. So essentially that it was like anyone who was coming back, like from the Confederacy, they couldn't like pull a move. Like you can't get into office because you are an insurrectionist. Like that doesn't jive. So it doesn't work. It really I think it had been used maybe like up to like a decade or so after. And that's really about it. But now it's being used here because they're saying on January 6th That's exactly what Trump did. And by this logic, they were split 4-3, but 4 were in favor, saying like, hey, I'll just go ahead and read from them. We do not reach these conclusions lightly, wrote the court's majority. We are mindful of the magnitude and weight of the questions now before us. We are likewise mindful of our solemn duty to apply the law, without fear or favor, and without being swayed by public reaction to the decisions that the law mandates we reach. Trump's attorneys had promised to appeal any disqualification immediately to the nation's highest court, which has the final say, about constitutional matters. Now, the problem is, though, timing. Like, timing is the biggest issue here, because I think they have until like July 4th or 5th, because that's when you actually have to have the ballots like put up. Like, they have to be ready by then. So the Supreme Court has to say something. And the way this works is it's going to take them, like, okay, they have to elect to take on the case. Then they have to hear the case, yada, yada, yada. Then they have to come up with a ruling that takes, usually a couple to a few months. So, some things I've been kind of hearing is most likely they are going to take on the case. Like, that's like priority A. But then they might do an emergency kind of thing where they say, look, we generally feel like this should happen. Like, we're going to bar them. We're going to bar this decision and allow Trump to be on the ballot, but we are still going to take on the case, and that ruling will then, matter for the future. It's not like it can retroactively matter. And then also when we're talking about this mattering, the actual is Colorado hasn't been a red situation since I think Bush Gore. So it's been a while, since the early aughts. So it was already kind of in the math that Donald Trump wasn't even going to win. So it doesn't matter if he's not on the ballot, sure, whatever. That doesn't matter. But there's already dozens of lawsuits that are trying to get this to happen. And Colorado was the first state where it actually passed and then went all the way up to their state Supreme Court. And the only dissension was hey, I don't feel like he should should be involved in the stipulation because it doesn't necessarily say the president. That was the Trump's defense team that landed for that judge, and that's then what put it all the way up to their top Supreme Court, and that's where they went 4-3. Sorry, bad summary. You can just go ahead and read it if you want. But yeah, so now that leaves it where it is. We'll see what the Supreme Court does. I really honestly thought that this wasn't gonna have any traction. So this was a little bit of a Trump Christmas gift, if you will, because I thought we were done talking about Trump till 24, but here we are, getting one last talk about it, a little gab. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. Is there anything else I really wanted to cover here? Oh, yeah. I guess the other part, the symbolic spontaneous combustion. The idea that if this does work, right? If this does go all the way to the Supreme Court and they say, oh, yeah, no, we're going to stick by the Supreme Court on this, which I don't think so. And I think a lot of other people are saying, actually, y'all might be surprised. It might not even be a 6-3. This might be an all-out, everyone on court says, no, this should not happen. We got to overturn this. Just because they feel like the legalities are bad, and then the symbolic precedent that gets set is that actually, if you don't like a person, or you don't like a president or candidate, you can say, I'll pull up a thing and then say, they violated this law, so they can't do it. But I feel like that logic is feeble, right? Because there's not every president that gets into themselves in a situation where it's you caused an insurrection. And literally they had the counter of okay, we didn't cause an insurrection. It was more like a riot. It's that's terrible. That's a terrible argument. You guys are getting paid a lot of money. Please cook harder. But hey, whatever. They're trying, I guess. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm very interested to see what the Supreme Court is going to say, what SCOTUS is going to do with it. If Trump is going to get locked out of Colorado, if that's going to be a ripple effect, if that ripple effect even matters, who knows? I'm as we go into 2024, I really don't know. Even though this is the same fucking thing, we're literally running the rerun. Biden is older than ever, and he's just so, like, no one likes the guy. Like, you're not finding a lot of people to like him. I mean, he literally, we're already in the phase of, like, people are like, if you don't vote, or if you don't vote for Biden, like, you're letting Trump win, okay? And it's like, dude, I'm so tired of being in that camp. I'm so tired of being in that camp, dog. Like, I get it. I get it. We're all playing team sports. In fact, speaking of team sports, I know I'm just letting it linger. I'm in the weeds. But, like, call it bad politics or whatever, but it's nice to see some liberals doing some liberal shit finally, like actually being active and saying, no, we're gonna use this old ass fucking stale civil war law and like throw it on you, dude, because you are fucking crazy and we don't like that shit. Like, amen, good job, good baseball if you ask me. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I don't know. That's my 3 cents on it. Let's move on. Take it to the skies. From Axios, Southwest Airlines fined $140 million over last winter's meltdown. So yeah, this is another thing we had talked about, and I thought this was an interesting update. At least just giving a dollar amount. What was the slap on the wrist for Southwest Airlines from the Department of Transportation? The U.S. Department of Transportation has fined Southwest Airlines $140 million over last year's disastrous winter meltdown that left nearly 17,000 holiday flights canceled and over 2 million passengers stranded. Agency officials say the penalty, 30 times larger than any previous similar fine, sends a strong message to all airlines to up their customer service game. In a way, I do like that. I think like in the future, at least for Southwest Airlines, if it's if there's a situation that winds up keeping you from your destination for more than 3 or more hours, you can, like, within like the scheduled arrival time, you can get a transferable $75 voucher for future use on the airline. That's nice, I guess. But then, like, when you think back to the situation that unfolded last year, where, some really bad snowfall happened, and, like, sure, you expect it to be bad, maybe you're held up for a day. People were talking like they were held up for, like, at least 3 days. There were people who just said, you know what, we got to say, fuck it. We're going on our own. We'll get a rental car and we'll drive. Like, we'll leg it that way. And just like the lack of compensation for that, they said was just really fucking terrible. Now, I know that, let's see, let me add some more facts here. Southwest must also pay $35 million to the U.S. Treasury. The new fines are in addition to over $6 million in refunds that Southwest has already issued related to the meltdown. So, like, Southwest is already prepared to get their ass spanked by the DOT here. So they've been making strides to, like, compensate and do things in anticipation for this. And I think that some of that's gone up against the bill that they're, having to foot here with this $140 million. So, cool, whatever. I mean, hopefully this is just a lesson. I think Southwest Airlines was specifically kind of punished here because their airline system was really old. Like, I think they called it like kind of like a wheel and spoke kind of situation where like one place was like the main hub and the other places were kind of like satellites. So when this one spot got hit, and then there was no way to kind of like reroute people and fix things because also the software and the way they kind of communicate is just dated and old. It just all really went to shit. There were some like maintenance issues that also made it hard to get the planes, operational in the weather conditions. So yeah, it just dominoed really fucking bad. And it was just a really shitty look to see like, yeah, everyone got hit. Like, yeah, there's a lot of airlines and down planes, but then once the shit moved through and moved along, other airlines were doing fine and they were back up and operational. And here's Southwest Airlines just letting everyone just sit and rot. And that's a terrible thing for the holidays. You never want to fucking be there. You never want to fucking be in that situation. Now, the whole $75 stipend thing, that is specific to Southwest, though it is being proposed that, like, hey, maybe this is something we institute and try to get going for all airlines. And they have like a certain kind of protocol that they pay into to make that a thing. So, maybe that's good. Maybe Pete Buttigieg is onto something there. Ugh, fucking whatever. I don't know. Let's move on to the last beat. We have one more thing to talk about. Drink up. All right. Let me take my last break and then we will get into it. Ooh-wee. Cool whip. Okay. From the Associated Press. Drought-prone California OK's new rules for turning wastewater directly into drinking water. That's right, baby. You're going to be drinking Poopoo in no time. In woke California. Okay, I'm sorry. When a toilet is flushed in California, the water can end up in a lot of places. An ice skating rink near Disneyland, ski slopes around Lake Tahoe, farmland in the Central Valley, and coming soon, kitchen faucets. You know what? That's good writing. I'm fine with that. That's okay. California regulators on Tuesday approved new rules to let water agencies recycle wastewater and put it right back into pipes that carry drinking water to homes, schools, and businesses. It's a big step for a state that has struggled for decades to secure reliable sources of drinking water, and for its more than 39 million residents, and it signals a shift in public opinion on a subject that is, as of recently as 2 decades ago, prompted backlash that scuttled similar projects. So yeah, I just thought this was an interesting thing that kind of popped up on my news notification feed. I remember being a kid and learning about how, like, hey, we actually do have the technology. We're working on it. It's there that you can desalinate water. Like, so the idea of, like, salt water, we can just fix it up with science and all that, and we can make a machine that allows you to drink it. And I'm like, that's crazy. That's crazy. So, like, we should all just be able to drink water right now. But then it's like, of course, immediately what they tell you is that, well, like, it's so expensive to do that. We just couldn't afford it. It's not something that's actually, like, really financially feasible. So we're not doing it. So naturally, you kind of run it down that, hey, if we can desalinate and do that, we can take out brackish water and make it clean water to drink for humans. Why not just take the little bit of the doo-doo water and it turns out that you can, and it turns out that they are, and soon that it is going to be in your faucets. So that caught my attention. What else do I want to pull from here? I can't remember. I'm in the weeds. But I'll read this quote and we'll probably just call it there. Anyone out there taking drinking water downstream from a wastewater treatment plant discharge, which I promise you're all doing, is already drinking toilet to tap. All water is recycled. What we have here are standards, science, and importantly, monitoring that allows us to have faith that it is pure water. Saying this kind of brought me back to what I wanted to say. It's crazy that the treatment is actually so good that the water tastes different, but not different in like, oh no, I can still taste the poop. Like, no, it's not that. Like, there's a certain kind of thing that there are chemicals that are naturally in water, and also chemicals that are added to water. They're putting fluoride in the water and making the frogs gay. But like, there's things in the water. And sometimes I've noticed this in my my ponderous thoughts. Let's say that I'll go, man, sometimes I do my thing, and then I drink this water, and it tastes like sweet. That's crazy. Water is so crazy. It's so crazy. And then this reminds me. It's like, yeah, because all of this water is like treated in a way that it is the best kind of water we can give you. You know what I mean? We're not giving you slop. We're not giving you pond scum. And the idea that they have to go through this process, this so expensive, elaborate process, and part of that is you have to add back in some chemicals to kind of make it taste right, because what they've done is purified it too well. Like now this water is like blank and neutral, and that's a little weird. That's a little funky, and I thought that was all interesting. So I'm glad I remember that last minute, last second, clutch moment, clutch podcasting moment, because I don't do a script because I'm a loser. Anyway, that's it. That's all we have. Oh man, I ran really long. Oops. Patreon.com says Isaiah News if you'd like to support the effort. IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to send some feedback or whatever. Follow me on all the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, whatever you're listening on. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.